Order at 7:05. I'm going to begin with a roll call of the members of the zoning board. I am Jeannie Goldberg, chairperson of the ZBA. Also present are Patty Kelly, vice chairperson, Tim Scott,
Hi, everybody.
Joe Mayone. You're here, Joe? Oh, Joe. Joe was here a minute ago.
He's muted.
Henry?
Doesn't know how to unmute himself, Gene.
Ah. Okay, he will, I'm sure. Henry Roy is here.
Yep.
And Holly Strut, our alternate, was here.
She's here.
Holly, are you here? No.
Yeah.
Here, I seem to be unable to use video tonight. I got a new computer, but I can hear you.
Welcome to the crowd.
Thanks.
Good. So Holly is here, and I know Joe was here and will be back. So with a roll call, we need 3 members present to form a quorum. And we have 4.5. I'm counting Joe as half. Regular board members plus our alternate, Holly. So I am now declaring a quorum and the meeting may begin. There are 4 items.
This is Joe. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you, Joe. You're just in time.
Okay. Thank you.
There are now 5 regular members.
I'm just going to interrupt Jeannie that I think it's
Yes.
Henry still has a radio. Can you mute yourself, please?
Thank you. There are 4 items for tonight's meeting. In order to keep everyone's concentration as well as our senses of humor going, I would like to keep this meeting to no longer than 2 hours tonight. I am going to reverse the order of the agenda for tonight only. The last item on our agenda under old business is Tarpon Towers, Verizon Wireless at the Mount Marion Fire Department. At this time, I wish to announce that this application is on hold, but is kept open at the request of the applicant. The applicant has requested to appear at the March 1st, 2021 ZBA meeting. Therefore, there will be no discussion of this application tonight. Anyone who is attending this meeting for this application is therefore free to leave if you wish, although you are certainly welcome to stay, since all of our meetings are open to the public. But I urge you and everyone to please keep informed by reading the ZBA webpage on the Town of Saugerty's website. The first item we will deal with tonight is the new public hearing for 2 appeals for variances by Jonathan Delson, 18 Browns Lane, Saugerties, New York. These variances concern 2 adjacent properties owned by Mr. Delson, SBL 17.3-3-18.200, and the same except the last digits are 100. Those are the 2 parcel numbers. This is a request for an area variance of 11.1% for a lot line revision to lot ending in 100 that will result in increasing the insufficient area of an already undersized lot. Lots in this moderate density residential zone district require a 1 acre minimum area. This lot currently has an area of, you may wish to write this down, 0.919 acres and would have an area of 0.889 acres after the desired lot line revision. This lot line revision will result in a house located on lot, last three digits, 200, that currently extends 4.2 feet into lot 100, being entirely on the first lot, but having insufficient side yard setback for the new lot line. This lot line revision will therefore also require an area variance of 19.2 feet for the side yard setback. Before we begin the public hearing, the ZBA must make a determination on SECRA. I make the motion that the SECRA designation for both area variances is type 2, and here we go again, 617.5 C 16 and 17. Is there a second?
I'll
You're
second
muted.
it.
Who is that? Joe? Joe seconded. Is there any discussion? All in favor, either raise your hand or say aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, I want to ask a question, please.
And you are, your name is?
My name is Dmitry Tverskoy, and I'm the owner of adjoining to the lot 17.3-3-8.100 lot. My property is adjoining to this one. And I
Okay.
want to ask a question.
Please, go ahead.
Okay, on this lot, 17.3-3-8.100, the house is located. According to the record, the house was built in 1974, and then in some year, I believe in 1990, or prior to this, it was extended, the house. But the problem is that the house backyard, according to zoning regulation, has to be 45 feet, but it is now only 7 feet. So, and I would like to find out if any variance was given for this, if it was given sometime, so I would like to know when it was given.
Okay. Your name is Dmitry. I'm sorry, I did not get the last name.
I'll spell it for you. T like Tom, V like Victor, E like Edward, R like Robert, S like Sam, K like Kite, O like Olga, Y like Yellow.
You got
Okay,
that,
is
Kevin,
it?
right?
Okay, is the address of
Dmitry,
the
I'm
property?
going to,
Got it.
excuse me. I'm going
Sure.
to ask that you let us finish the vote on the SECRA. And then we will get into the public hearing, okay? And you will be the first person from the public to speak.
All right.
Is that all right?
Thank you. Yes, it is.
Thank
Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor for a type 2 secret determination. We have a second, and I believe we had a vote. I know Tim,
Yes.
Patty, Henry,
Yes.
and
Joe, yes.
Joe seconded, and I vote yes. So the secret designation is finished. This completes the secret process. I now open the public hearing for the Delson 2 area variances. Mr. Walter, Mr. McCarthy, Mr. Delson, do you wish to speak at this point before we open it to the public?
My name is Dan McCarthy. I'm with Pretorius and Conrad. Can you folks hear me? Okay. Well, Jeannie, I think you covered the details beautifully. I really don't have anything at this point to add. I'd like to go right to the what's next.
Mr. Walter, Mr. Delson?
Well, I'm
No.
going to, go ahead, Lanny. He has to unmute.
You're muted, Lanny. Unmute.
I'm unmuted.
Yes.
That's fine with us to proceed, and we'll answer any questions that may be raised. You explained what's at issue here quite well.
Patty, you're muted.
Lanny,
Yes.
Dimitri did ask a question. Is that something you can answer for him?
Well, I believe what he's talking about is the house where Mr. Delson's mother lived. I have no idea when this addition was put on, and it's not the subject of this hearing. It may well have been added when his father owned the house. I mean, I don't know who did that work, and we're not prepared really to address it. If if Dimitri wants to make a complaint, and the matter can be looked into by the building inspector, and then decide what he wants to do about it.
But it's not pertaining to the properties that we're talking about for this application.
Well, it pertains to 100 regarding the house that's situated away from the area that's where the adjustment is being sought.
Okay, Miss Dimitri, would you like to explain further what your question or problem is?
Okay, I don't have any problem and questions concerning today's agenda, whatever Jonathan Delson asked. Okay, I have a question concerning the lot which adjoins to my property, and I want just to find out if the variance was given at any time, because as I said, the house withstands from the property line just 7 feet instead of 45 feet. I want to find out if at any time it was requested the variance for this, and it was given to the applicant. This is my question, because I contacted building department and they didn't get back to me. And I believe there you are the right address where I can ask the question concerning the variance, because you issuing the variances.
Yes, we do. In my memory, no. There has been no variance. The building department is definitely the department to contact. I believe they are closed at the moment. Everything is very difficult at this time. And I apologize, and it must be very frustrating. It is for many of us.
Yes, it
So
is.
you wondered when if the house on lot 100, correct?
Correct, yes.
The back variance, the back of the house, you think is too close to your property?
It is. It's 7 feet instead of 45 feet.
May I ask a question? Dimitri, which house do you live in?
Okay, I own a commercial property known as the Solway Properties LLC. It's located at 9 Solway Road. It's a camp resort property. It's a commercial property. I acquired this property back to 1995 or 1996.
95 or 96?
I believe 1995.
Okay, I can tell you that in 1990, there was a variance issued allowing both properties to be smaller than they were supposed to be in, according to the zoning law, it has to be 1 acre.
Yes, yes,
Neither of them.
I'm aware of this. Thank you, thank
You
you.
know that one.
Yeah, about the acreage, I know, yes, but concerning the distance from the property line, so I'm not sure because it's 7 feet and 45 feet. It's a big difference.
Yes?
Well, the house was built in 74, you said.
Yeah,
So that
original
would be-
house was built in 1974, but it was extended at some point of time.
You know
And
when?
I don't know. I don't know because I came to this property in 1995. But if you see the house, so you can just find out. You see it, just addition was built after the original house was built.
Dimitri, the zoning law wasn't in effect back then. So the rules, so in 74, they certainly were not in effect. And depending on when the addition was, it would, unless it happened after the zoning law was enacted, there wouldn't have been any regulations in place at that point.
I am not arguing with this. I just want to find out if any variance was given at some point of time.
I understand.
If you don't have it on record, so it means that it was never issued.
Right.
Correct. Yeah. Okay.
But
So
if you call the building department, they keep all the records there. They are only one person a day is working there because of COVID. And you can't go in and look at the records without an appointment. But if you call them and leave a message and tell them that the zoning board suggested that they call you, somebody will get back to you.
Okay. All right. We'll do. Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. Have a good night.
Thank you.
But you are not concerned about the variances tonight.
No, I'm
that
not.
correct?
I'm not.
Okay. Good. Then I hope that Patty has answered your question.
Okay. Thank you.
Is there anyone else here who would like to speak to these variances? Hearing no one, I assume that's a no. Is the board ready to vote on these appeals? Raise your hand if you are, please.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. In making its determination, and this will go for our next appeal also, the ZBA shall take into consideration the benefit to the applicant if the variance is granted, as weighed against the detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood or community by such granting. In making such determination, the board shall consider the following 5 points, which we will now discuss. ZBA members, please. Does anyone have a feeling about whether an undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties will be created by these variances?
Jeannie, I can speak to that. I've been up to that area often over the years, and it's and the properties are very close together. That's kind of the nature of that small little community. Granted, it would be nice if they were all 1 acre lots, but they're not, and I don't think it is going to be detrimental to the people living in the neighborhood. Otherwise, I think we would have heard from them.
Anyone else on the ZBA?
I agree with
Joe?
I do as well.
Okay.
Patty. I don't see any significant impact.
Good. whether the benefits sought by the applicant can be achieved by some method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than an area variance.
Yeah.
No,
No,
there's not room to move the house, and it would require moving the house. Whether the requested area variance is substantial.
No, don't believe so.
No, I don't believe 11% is substantial.
No,
Whether the proposed variance will have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood or district.
no,
Again, I don't think so either.
no,
Having visited the neighborhood, no. And now the tricky one. Whether the alleged difficulty was self-created. I believe it was self-created, but it was done so erroneously. The markers were not clear when the house was built. This is my understanding from last month. And the house was built too close to the line. So I don't think so.
I would agree with that.
I also agree.
Okay, would someone like to make a motion to grant these 2 area variances?
So moved. I will make that motion.
Okay,
And this
I'll
is Joe.
second
is there a second?
I'll second.
Joe-
Tim, second. I'm going to do a roll call vote. Patty,
Yes,
Joe,
Yes,
Tim,
Yes.
Henry,
Yes.
and I vote yes. The variances are granted, with the understanding that you are now going to have to go to the planning board to get your lot line adjustment, but you already know that.
Yeah.
This is very unusual that you come to the ZBA before the planning board, but this is one of the interesting exceptions.
Thank you. Want to thank the board. Everybody stay safe and stay in. Once you get
Yes.
skis.
Please, even those of us who are in 47-degree weather.
You too, Henry.
Thank you also to everybody. It's appreciated.
you're welcome.
You're welcome. Good luck.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to say good night to everyone. Stay safe.
Good night.
You too. Good night.
Good night.
Okay, we have one new appeal tonight. Michael McIsaac, who is here but not in picture. It is 1632 Old Kings Highway in Saugerties. The SPL is 8.4-7-37, and the zoning district is residential hamlet and high-density residential. The applicant wants to build a carport, an 8-by-14-foot carport. He's requesting an 11-foot side yard area variance in order to do this. The side yard setback requirement is 25 feet. Mr. McIsaac, the board has received your application with your plan and the denial from the code enforcement officer. Would you like to tell the ZBA anything about the 11-foot side yard variance you were requesting?
Mike, if you're on by phone, you can press *6 to unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm hoping to build a travel trailer, and it needs to be garaged. And we've had many cars. We have a 2-car garage, but we have 5 cars in the family. So there's a need for more car storage. I'm thinking that parking a travel trailer, a small one, inside of a carport, and it would have sides and a back on it, would be more visually appealing to neighbors than just having the travel trailer parked over there, or B, even worse to me, is having a temporary kind of like a tent device where I think you don't need a building permit. So I think it would increase the property value, upkeeping the house, and it cannot be reasonably placed anywhere else on the property. To the left of the garage, I'm planning it to the right of the garage, which is close to the property line. To the left of the garage is an existing parking space and access to the backyard, so there's just not enough room there. And of course, anywhere else, you can't pull the trailer up. The driveway's only so large. So that's the reason we're asking for this.
Thank you. Before we vote to set a public hearing, which is required of all appeals before the zoning board, we will vote to do a secret designation. Again, I will make the motion that this 11-foot area side yard variance is a type 2.
I second that, Gene.
Second by Henry.
Yeah.
Is there any discussion? All in favor, say yes, or raise your hand, please.
Yes.
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 Okay, Joe, did I hear from you too?
Yes, you did.
Good. Okay, so it is unanimous. We have now completed the secret process. May I have a motion to set a public hearing for our March 1st meeting?
I'll make that motion to set the public hearing.
Patty makes the motion. Joe makes the second? Was that Joe?
Yes.
Good. All in favor again, raise your hand or say yes, please.
Yes.
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 Okay, I think I heard everyone.
Yes.
So, there can't be anyone opposed because all 5 voted yes. So, Mr. McIsaac, we will see you on March 1st.
All right, sounds great.
I think we will
Wait,
still
before
be
he
listening.
goes,
Yes, wait
Would
just
you-
a moment.
would you remind him about the cards that have to be sent out?
Oh, thank you, Patty.
You're welcome.
Yes, you will be getting from Kevin a list of everyone within 500 feet of your property line. And you must send out cards to them at least 2 weeks before the before the hearing.
By certified mail.
Okay, so that's in 2
By
weeks from now.
certified, return receipt requested.
Okay.
Mike, have your email address. We'll send you a template of the letter, and I'll send you an Excel spreadsheet of all the property owners within that radius.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
And thank you, Patty.
Good seeing you
You're
guys.
welcome. Good night, Mike.
Good night.
Thanks.
Night.
Okay.
So here we are with the Quarryville regulars.
The third and last, item on our agenda is the Ulster County Public Safety Radio Tower, proposed for 35 Quarry Road in Saugerties. They propose to construct a 180-foot public safety radio tower on property owned by the county of Ulster in the area of Quarryville. The county is seeking a determination under the Monroe Balance of Public Interest test for this facility. This is a continuation of the public hearing from December 7th, 2020. And is Mr. Doyle still with us? Ah, I see your name, so.
Yep, I'm here. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Doyle is the director of the Ulster County Planning Department, and he will now, if he wishes, present some additional facts about the proposed facility. And then after that, we will open it for public comment and questions. Mr. Doyle.
Thank you very much. Just a couple of things. One is that we had hoped to be able to give you some additional visual simulations from the property adjacent to the facility at the end of Stay Road, and also for the property at the end of Church Road. Unfortunately, my emergency management services department is extremely busy dealing with COVID-19 issues and setting up vaccination sites. So they were not able to be out on site. So I have no new information relative to what we had talked about at the end of the last public hearing. We are proposing, as the ZBA asked us to do another balloon flight. We're proposing that balloon flight for the 18th with a weather date of the 19th. That's a Thursday and a Friday of this month. And we would propose that we notify the adjoining neighbors looking at the list that was provided to us for the public hearing notice. And then we would propose that we take that the pictures that we're talking about would be those pictures that I just mentioned at the end of Church Street and at the end of Stay Road. At the end of Church Street, we're hoping that we have permission from Mr. Kordich to be on his property. I'm going to take his comments at the last public hearing that we had that permission as being able to go on his property and take the necessary pictures from that location. And we are also proposing that we would also provide notice in the local paper I think they come out on Wednesday, which I believe is the 10th. We would put an ad in the local paper, so that would be out as well in the local paper. Additional pictures, we're asking the board if there are additional locations. We would propose that we take the locations that we spoke about, that we took before, particularly the Methodist Church, to see if it's visible from the Methodist Church, and also back to looking at the Route 32 pictures that we had taken before and had done visual simulations with leaf on. And then any other spot along Church or Stay Road where we believe that the balloons would be visible.
Dennis, when we had the last meeting, one of the concerns was taking it only at one spot on Church wasn't really helpful.
That's correct, yeah.
What we need to do is go back from where the line is near where the tower is going to be, to include every single property on Church Road going back until it's no longer until you can't see it, so that we know where that cutoff is on Church Road, where people are going to be able to see that tower. So just doing, you understand what I mean? The same thing on Stay Road. You're really I think, going to have to get several photographs of the houses where they're going to be able to see the tower, so everybody has a clear understanding of where it is and is not seen.
Here's my difficulty with that. I mean, I don't have permission to get on everybody's property, so I'm going to be taking it from the road with the exception of Mr. Kordich.
Right, and if anybody who lives on Church Road or Stay Road wants to give you that permission, they can. Jeannie, would it be okay if they emailed the zoning board and we could forward it on to Mr. Doyle?
That would be fine.
So we'll, just so that you know that you'll have that permission if you need it.
Yes, and I would add that there is one other property that is eligible for state and national historic preservation. And I see Mr. Bryan is here tonight. I don't have the address.
That's on Church Road, isn't it, as I recall?
Correct.
Yeah, it's the old school property. We're aware of that.
The old school property?
No, this is Alan. Can you hear
No,
me?
it's a church. It's a
I'm
former
sorry.
church.
I'm sorry. It's a church property. I apologize. You're right. It's correct.
It's 20.
But it is eligible for state and national register. According to the 2005 Historic Resource Survey.
Yeah, it's Alan Bryan is the owner. It's 24 Church Road. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. Is that correct, Alan? 24?
Yes, 24, and I can give you verbal permission to come up on the property right at the house.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And then if there are any other members of people who live on Church Road or Stay Road that you're aware of, maybe some of you who are on the call can get word to them and let us know whether or not they would give permission for the photographer to go onto their property to take a photograph. Okay?
But I am correct in assuming that the board's area of concern does not extend beyond that. Those two areas.
From your original photographs, that looks like the only area. There is one road where it might be seen, and that's on Rivka Estates. That first, as soon as you go into Rivka Estates, there are two houses, right? The first two on the right, where it is very possible that it would be visible there.
Is that High Falls Road?
No, it's Rivka Estates. If you're going down Harry Wells Road.
Harry Wells.
On Harry Wells, it's the first right.
I'm following you. Okay.
Yeah, it's very close to where 32 is, and I think those two houses particularly it might be visible. I don't know, but I think there's a chance.
All right, so we'll take a
send
picture.
you that information.
Okay, thank you.
And probably not far from the schoolhouse that you took a picture of before.
Yeah, that picture I'm aware of. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
The picture near 32 is a garage. Does that belong to the county?
That site does not. That's the original access road into Quarryville. Is that the one you're talking about? That picture, that one that does not belong to the county, but it is a garage facility.
Yeah.
Certainly not a sensitive site.
Okay. Is everybody who's on the call from Quarryville comfortable with those locations that we've discussed just now?
Patty, there's also a trailer that's on Old Route 32. It's right next to the restaurant.
Yes, that was one of the photographs originally, and it was seen from there.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe that was right there. Somebody lives there, right? It's a residence, yes. I believe that was in your original ones, Dennis.
We took the picture from right on the intersection between Route 32 and where that intersection right there. We took that. That's where the photo's from.
Okay, as long as it includes that residence, it'd be fine.
Okay. Do you know which one we're talking about, Dennis?
I'm trying to figure it out. That's what I'm looking for right now.
When you're going into the site, you make a left on Old Route 32, and you make a left, and right there, is that what you're talking about, Mike? That white
yes.
trailer? Yes, it's right there to the left. I thought that was in your original photographs, but I may be wrong.
It's not exactly from that location. It's actually from the intersection of Route 32 and Old Route 32.
It should be done from that one too, so that they have a clear view of it as well.
Right.
Gene,
Okay.
Would you like them to use my address? Would you like the public giving permission to use my address, and I can forward to Dennis?
Yes, I was going to suggest that if we may, Kevin.
Okay. So my address it's also on the town website. It's kfreeman@saugertiesny.gov, and I can forward that to the board members as well as Dennis.
as well, yes. And I was going to suggest that any of the public, any neighbors who wish to have pictures taken from their property, get in touch with Kevin, please. And he can forward this to Dennis. Is that okay, Mr. Doyle?
Yeah, that's fine.
And I appreciate your optimism that it's the 18th or the 17th?
Yeah, the 18th or the 19th. Those are two dates we have right now.
Not going to snow those days, is
Yeah,
that right?
No, the 18th we're hoping is a when and the balloon will go up early in the morning. So they go up very early in the morning because the winds get better, get higher as the afternoon goes on. So they'll go up early in the morning. We haven't kicked out a time yet, but probably the balloon will be up by 8. We'll probably publish a 9 o'clock deadline, but the balloon should be up by 8.
Okay, thank you.
And I would also ask you, because this is February in the Northeast, that if there are any changes, you let us know immediately.
Yeah,
and we will put it on the ZBA webpage, on this Town of Saugerty's website.
So why don't we do this? I mean, I'm assuming that we'll watch the weather for the week.
Yeah.
We'll try to know whether we have a go by Tuesday or by Tuesday.
Yes.
But if it looks really bad on Wednesday, we'll certainly let you know by Wednesday. And then we'll
Good.
have to renotice and go through that process. I get
Right.
it.
Right, and if everybody on the call from Quarryville could always be checking the website, we try to keep everybody up to date on what's going on. We'll certainly do it for the balloon test. Okay.
And let me just ask in general, if there are people from Quarryville, would you like us to try to put it on channel 23 also?
Yes, I think that would be good. This is Margarita. Sorry, Asyan.
Okay.
And my mom is here with me, Janet Asyan.
Okay. And you would like it on channel 23? Because I think for some people that is much better than having to go on a computer. And we want to
Absolutely.
make it available to everyone. We legally have to do some things with paid legal notices in the paper, but there's no reason we cannot supplement this by channel 23 and the website.
Okay.
Hopefully that's the best we can do.
Yep. Dennis, is it okay? Jeannie, it's up to you. I have a question for Dennis before we get to the public comment. Is this the right time to do that?
It is.
Okay.
Yes.
Dennis, one of the things we had asked for last time was a really more detailed examination of the alternates, the alternative sites. And we didn't hear anything. Can you hear me?
I can, yes.
I'm getting this feedback over there, but so I have a couple of things I want to ask you about. One of them is I went on to antenna search on the computer and looked to see for what towers and what antennas were on Mount Airy Road at the tower. And there are some with phone numbers and with emails that you can contact them. Now the tower is going to be the same height as your tower. The tower on Mount Airy is 180 or 180.1, but the elevation is so much higher. So my question is, you said it wasn't going to work for you. Could you give me a little bit more understanding of why? Has anybody gone over there? Have you been to that site?
My understanding is that we have looked at the existing towers on Mount Airy, and they're not capable of supporting our equipment.
Okay, how many towers are there?
I don't know that answer to that.
Could
All
you
I know
find out
is
from
all
the
I know is
person-
that our public works, our emergency services providers had looked at those towers and indicated to me that they were not capable of supporting our equipment.
Okay.
But if they were not able to support the equipment, would it be possible to build another tower nearby?
Well, I mean, the county has picked this site relative to lands that it's owned, and it's a balance of public interest test here with respect to that. And so we would be needing the same variances or the same relief from the zoning statute in order for us to locate there.
Correct. I understand that. Since you are a governmental entity owning property within another governmental entity, one way or the other, we would have to do another Monroe. This is our second.
I guess, Dennis, what I'm interested in, when you say one of the public works guys went over and looked at it.
No,
what I want to know is,
I misspoke. It's our information. I'm sorry. It's our EMS folks, our emergency management. They did an analysis of the tower, I'm told, and that the tower was not capable of supporting our equipment.
they did a physical. They went over to the site, is what I want to understand.
My understanding, that's
Okay.
exactly what ended up happening.
So,
yes.
so there's a microwave technology from that. So they're saying that the tower equipment, even though it is so much higher up and therefore could probably put more things on that tower.
My sense is it's a structural issue, I don't know whether we've done a coverage analysis. It was a structural issue on the tower itself.
Okay, all righty. And we have a couple of other industrial zones in the town. Did you ever look at any of the other ones, like the industrial area off of Meldon Turnpike, back off of Meldon Turnpike?
We can't make the connections relative to where our coverage needs are, and our connections back to the other facilities that we need to connect back to in order for this not to be a standalone tower, for that coverage to work. So the coverage analysis that we did was literally in and around the Quarryville area in order for us to essentially make it work.
All right, well, I have another question. In your original presentation, you showed that the Quarryville Tower would extend all the way down to Mount Marion. My question is, if there was a tower, your tower, in the industrial zone, why would it not be able to serve everything that was going to be served at Quarryville and Mount Marion and further? Because you're right in the middle of that, and why would it not be able to serve the same area since it's covering both areas?
I mean, you're talking to a planner, not a radio coverage engineer. The radio coverage folks basically looked at the areas that we need to locate a tower in order to get the coverage that we were looking for in the Saugerties area. And when they looked at those areas, they basically came to a conclusion that where the tower needed to be located was north of the village in an area that would essentially allow us to talk to Mount Tonchi and other and a feedback to, I think it's all the way back to Illinois Mountain or the Kingston location as well. So there's microwave linkages that have to be made, and that's why they picked this area.
Okay, so then, and I don't mean to be hostile with this question, but sometimes a location is chosen because you own it.
Actually,
and I know you have other locations.
Actually, no, I think at the time they were doing the study that the county was still working out lien issues with respect to the property. And so we were looking in the general area up here, not necessarily at a specific property.
It would just be helpful if there's a next time for us to have your RF people with you so that we can ask them these questions. Because when we're doing a tower in the area that you're covering, and it looks like that tower is going to be probably at a higher elevation than the Quarryville, because the Quarryville's kind of in a little bit of a dip there. I just want to make sure that we're getting all the information, not to say that you're not right. I just want to make sure we're covering all our bases with this.
I take you back to the balance of public interest test is not an alternatives analysis. It's literally, is there another place within the community where, in a more permissive zone where this facility can be sited? And I think we can make that case simply by saying that the only other places where this facility can be sited is nowhere, because the community doesn't allow these kinds of towers in any zone except for commercial towers. And if we want to consider this a commercial tower, then the only place it can be sited is industrial zones, and that clearly doesn't meet the requirements of the county with respect to coverage.
Okay, thank you.
But one of the factors that we must consider in the
Is
Monroe
alternatives.
test is alternatives.
Right.
That's what we're trying to do.
We're trying
But
to cover it in terms of the
But it's not
Monroe.
an alternatives, it's not an alternatives discussion of every alternative that's available. It's an alternatives discussion. Is there an area with respect to the zoning statute and where that there's a lesser restrictive zoning ordinance, a zoning district in which the tower can be located?
And also an area where it might have less of an impact on the residences in a
Yes.
particular area.
It is
something we
definitely
also
a
have to look at.
balance. At least that's the way we see it. That it must be a balancing of interests. And I understand what you're saying, but you had mentioned before, Mr. Doyle, that someone had looked at Sheer Road.
We've looked at a sheer road site, yes. We believe the site we've chosen balances the public interest.
Okay. I think we won't go any further there. Let's this is a public hearing.
So
let us listen to the public. I have just one request, please. And that is that if you could keep your comments to under 3 minutes, it would be appreciated, please. And not repeat comments or questions that others have already asked.
Hello, this is Bill Harrison.
Hi, Bill.
Hi. Thank you for hearing me. Thank you, Patty, for covering that so well in our concerns, and Jeannie. One of the other things that was mentioned in the last meeting, I believe, was that there's 22 acres available in this quarryable area. And one of the questions was, why couldn't some clearing be made such that this tower, if it in fact has to be in that 22 acres, can't be positioned somewhere else so that there's no impact into our community? That's all.
Or at least less impact.
Yes. Right now, our neighbor at the end of the road is clearly impacted. And of course, you're going to do additional photographs to see if there's people with less impact. Thank you, Jeannie, for the clarification. But if in fact this tower were further back in that 22 acres, if in fact this is so ideal for this particular installation, then it should be somewhere else in the 22 acres, or at least considered, so that, as you say, be less impact. And I'd like to get an answer or an investigation on that. Thank you.
So, I mean, if I may, just quickly, the site that we picked is the furthest located back from all of the areas that we're talking about. So it's right at the property line at the back of the property. If we are looking at moving it elsewhere, it would move to the front of the property. It would move up closer to Route 32.
Dennis, didn't you say the county owns two pieces of property back there, and there was a property behind that one also?
Yeah, it is. That other property, however, is quite rough. There's a number of I've actually walked that property to see whether or not we could move it to that property. It's actually quite a rough facility back in there. It's all existing quarry. It's actually existing quarries rather than the area that we're currently looking at. The other thing that would happen back in there is I'd have to build a road, which is a further impact. A, and B is I'd have to clear additional lands. The lands that we're currently working on are already cleared.
If I might just follow up, I thought that Pat had asked for a map to be drawn of the actual two areas that Ulster County owns, and then a respective point on that map as to your current suggestion for the tower, so that we might see kind of really what the areas. You say that's 22 acres back from the front of that road.
Yeah.
I'd like to see the map that actually kind of shows those two areas. It would help for me to
So,
understand that better?
so we did post on the website the site plan that shows the location of the proposed facility.
But that's not showing both pieces of property.
Well,
That's why
I mean,
asked for the,
it's not difficult to figure out the both pieces of property. I mean, if you look at parcel viewer, you can see the other piece that we own.
but how many acres is that other piece?
About 16.6 acres.
Okay, so maybe when you send us the hard copy of the zoning map, it'll have both pieces in it, and you can just put a little sticky note where the tower is, and that will give everybody a much better sense when we see that in a hard copy. It's just so difficult to read online because you can't see the whole thing. So,
Well, they're downloadable files.
well, we did download them, but in order to get to any detail, you have to enlarge it, and then you're looking at a certain thing, you're not able to see the whole. At least on my little feeble computer. I don't have a fancy computer, but I did download it, but it wasn't very helpful. But I think that would help.
I would concur, Pat. Thank you. I would request that hard copy. Doesn't sound like it'd be a hard thing to get. I would like to have it. Thank you, Pat and Mr. Doyle.
So we'll provide, I mean, we did provide hard copies of the site plan to your consultant.
Yeah, we saw the site plan, but I'm really, but the zoning, sorry, the survey just has a little bit more detailed information about the plot numbers that are around it, the distances, the direction, and it just was a more informative thing. I just couldn't see it all in one piece.
And if Dennis wants to send me hard copy of the survey map, I can scan it in at high resolution, and that can be blown up, resolution independent. So
with both parcels, and then we could maybe put that outside the office area in the hallway so that when people come in, they could look at, they don't have to go into the planning office, Kevin.
So we did not survey the other parcel that we owned. We only surveyed the one parcel. Okay. So the only thing we have is tax maps for the other parcel.
Okay. So between the two, we'll be able to figure out where the other parcel is and how far it goes back.
Yeah, it's a long, skinny parcel, and there's quite a bit of wetlands back in there. It's not an area you want to move into and put a tower in.
Okay. We look forward to seeing it. Thanks, Dennis.
Yep.
Mr. Schuster, is there something you would like to add after you unmute yourself?
How's that?
Good.
Here? I think a couple. Do I hear an echo?
Yeah, there is something on there. I heard it myself.
Well, I think I mentioned it to Mr. Doyle that it would be helpful to get information as to why the tower has to be 100 meters.
Oh.
I must be.
You've got an echo.
Am I still?
You're listed twice, Dan. I'm not sure why, but maybe it's a phone. It looks like you're muted on the video, but it's picking up your mic.
What would you like me to do?
Just get rid of the video and stay on your phone. Or vice versa.
One moment. We still have the echo?
Yep.
Yes.
Hang your phone up, Dan.
I'm not on the phone. The problem is I got out of the meeting and had to sign back in.
Ah.
Can't
It
stay
did.
out on one of them.
Somehow you're in twice. I can try to just kick you out of one of these.
Good.
Unmute your video. I'm gonna get rid of the one that just says it doesn't have video. Expel. Let me see. Where's just the Dan here? Participant expel. All right. Well, one of you is gone. You'll have to unmute. Looks like you're muted on that one, Dan. I must have kicked the wrong one out.
No, he just hasn't unmuted.
I know.
So I mean, if I can anticipate Dan's comment, because we talked about this, it had to do with essentially the fact that he's looking for justification for the 180-foot height versus another height of the tower. That question has been put back to our radio engineers. I think unfortunately that's being filtered through our emergency management folks who are extremely busy right now. But we will have that answer for you in terms of what heights are there. So we make sure that we have an answer that we cannot build a shorter tower. If we can build a shorter tower, we will build a shorter tower. I can tell you that right now.
Okay. Dan, along the lines of the emergency services, you had mentioned, I believe, that that they were not going to need specialized equipment to utilize the tower in their own firehouses and police stations. How did they connect with your tower?
That's a great question for the radio engineer folks. I think we got an explanation at the last meeting. The point being is that there's a need for both in what they call in-car and on-person communications. And so when you start looking at the on-person communications, it really creates some coverage gaps. So 911 services provide access that way. The individual fire companies, they would be, we are proposing to give them space on the tower if they want it. So when we look at the structural loadings that we're designing a tower for, we're designing a tower so it will handle additional structural loadings for the fire companies in the area if they want to use the tower. But no, and I repeat, no cell companies are proposed to be located on the tower facilities.
Oh.
You're talking commercial cell towers.
That's correct.
Okay, let's use that. That's important.
So when your RF person comes the next time, this is one of the questions I think we need clarity on, whether or not our firehouse people, our firemen and firewomen in the firehouses and the police department are going to have to purchase equipment to put on the tower in order for it to be of use.
That question got answered. The answer is no.
Okay,
that question got answered the last time.
Okay, so there's no cost to them for that equipment.
That's correct.
Excellent, thank you. I'm finished. I have no more questions unless others do.
Jeannie, I put something in the chat to you. I'm not sure if you saw it. Just asking if they're providing RF information. Should we be forwarding that to Ron? And is there a deadline for that?
Yes.
We posted RF information on the website and provided it to the board.
Fine. We will forward that to Ron. Thank you, Kevin. I do have one question. I remember you're discussing lights on the tower and said that you did not need to have lights on the tower.
That's correct.
I would like your RF engineer to give us justification for both the height of the tower and the fact that there are lights required or not required, and why.
So we already have that data from, well, the height of the tower will get you that information. But we've already gone through the environmental review with respect to FAA and FCC, and they have already concluded, and I think we provided that to the board, that lights will not be required on the tower.
Okay. I'll look through it again.
Yeah.
If we have it, I'll try to get it to you tomorrow, or certainly maybe by Wednesday, depending upon the weather.
Thank you. I would like to, unless anybody else on the board has questions, I would really like to open this public hearing to the public.
We have to, but-
Is anyone in the public, any neighbors, anyone else like to say anything? Do you have any questions?
If anyone's on phone, remember *6 to unmute yourself.
Could I ask one more question? This is Bill Harrison.
Certainly.
When the fireman was on the last meeting, I was. It sounded like they were using some sort of like cell technology for location, and then the radio tower for actual vocal communication or something like that. It sounded like they had like two different types of technology that they've deployed within their vehicles, and I thought cell was one of the technologies that they felt was upcoming and really important to them. I know that can't be answered tonight, but could we get some clarification on that to kind of know really the comprehensive solution that's foreseen in this? I mean, we might start off with radio, but then if the fire department realizes there's other technology they need for location purposes, I just like to see what the vision is from these departments that really have a vision for this technology.
So, I mean, my sense would be is that the key here is that one of the things that 911 is doing relative, I think we laid this out relative to our presentation in terms of why we needed this facility and what the facility was going to. And I would take you back to that presentation, which is where we are now as an analog process, and we're moving to a digital process. And what it does is it meets the state's interoperability, where it's not just the fire companies. We're also being able to talk on the same frequencies with police and other first responders to the scene. So it's that interoperability from 911 that really is the important factor that's being addressed by this tower. I can't sort of address what local fire companies are doing, but I know that cell service, as that fireman testified, is that they also use, because of coverage issues, they also use some cell service in their own cell phones in order to make some of these situations work the best for them. But the tower is not designed to essentially provide cell service. It is designed to provide an interoperability in conjunction with a countywide change in terms of how the county 911 system works. In addition to this tower, there are two other towers that we're going to have to locate and upgrade additional equipment in terms of where we are in terms of frequency.
So Dennis, one of the goals of this tower is to make it so that the communications problems the firehouses and the police are having currently will be rectified by this tower, because they'll have more access to the frequencies that you're going to be providing. Is that correct?
That is correct. And it's my understanding is that they may be able to talk to themselves, but they can't talk to 911. So that's the thing in the field. If 911 is trying to get a hold of them in the field and direct them to an address, or they're trying to get a hold of 911 and seek additional aid, my understanding that the coverage gaps create significant problems for them.
So this may make some of those cell problems no longer problems once they get this kind of technology.
I don't want to speak to that. I know why I'm building the tower. I don't want to speak about cell coverage.
Okay.
Yeah, and my understanding was that it is for communications for 911, and if they're trying to use location, however that is, that wouldn't be through this radio communication. That would be through internet or whatever that they get through the cell. I would assume. So anyway, I guess that answers my question. So I'll just leave it there. Thank you.
Yeah, and there's a really, I mean, if you've ever been, we've done some riding around with the emergency management folks to show me what coverage gaps means. and trying to talk to 911 systems from an in-car position versus a personal position, you can watch the coverage just turn into garbage. It just turns into garble in these areas up here, especially in that Route 32 corridor and down in the village. It doesn't work well. Let's put it that way. And so that's the real concern from 911 is that the coverage is so spotty that they lose communications with the scene unless they're talking to people that are actually in vehicles.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and I had mentioned that I use AT&T in my home because Verizon is absolutely horrible in this area, and I've used that for 10 years, I guess. But it was mentioned that I guess AT&T doesn't. It certainly covers the Saugerties area where I live and down 32 as far as my experience, which is again a different discussion. But as far as blank spots, Verizon is not good in this area and hasn't been, but ever. But AT&T is, and that's why I still use it for this area. So for whatever value that has, that's been my experience. But thank you, Mr. Brad. I appreciate your update on that.
Is there anyone else here who would like to speak for 3 minutes?
This is Margarita again. I just want to let you know, we're still here, and we look forward to the next meeting when we have the information, the new photographs and the imaging and the maps, the information that you've been asking. And we'll see you at the next meeting. I see. Thanks.
I'm sure there will be another one. Certainly after the balloon test.
Sure.
Is there anyone else who'd like to speak? If not, we can all go back to shoveling.
Dennis, thank you for answering the question so directly tonight. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
Glad your internet was working. And thank you, Dan.
Thanks, Quarryville folks.
And thank you, everyone, for coming.
Thank you, Janie and ZBA, and we'll see you next month.
Okay, bye, Mike.
Next
Take
month
care,
or
Patty.
whenever.
Or whenever.
Or whenever. Yes.
Thank you for asking good and concise questions. Good night, all.
Good night.
Does anyone on the board have any other comments or concerns?
Not at this time.
In that case, I will take a motion for adjournment.
Well, we have minutes to adopt, don't we?
Yes, actually, we should adopt at least the.
I don't mean adopt. I mean vote.
January
vote
minutes.
To approve the minutes. Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
We may do that. It is not legally necessary for us to approve minutes. Everyone, by the way, it is customary, but it is not legally necessary. We have just gotten several legal opinions on this from the OML, the open meeting law people. However, since you brought it up, Patty, do you have any changes to the January minutes?
Well, let's start with the January minutes. I vote to approve them.
And I will second that. All in favor?
Aye.
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 And aye.
Okay, and then I move to adopt the December 7 meeting minutes.
Okay, I will also second that. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. I will call for a vote to approve the December 7th, 2020 minutes.
And then finally, I move to approve the November 2nd minutes.
Oh my goodness, are we that far
Wow.
behind? Good thing that's not required.
I
All
know,
right.
but
I will,
Why
will,
don't we have a vote on the December ones
first.
and November one before we move on to any other ones?
Okay, we voted on the January ones. Kevin?
I'm waving goodbye to Dan unless he had a message.
Oh.
for us.
Goodbye, Dan.
Hi,
Bye,
Dan.
Dan.
Unless you want to stay and vote for the on the minutes. You're welcome to. Okay, we were now talking about adopting the December 7th, 2020 minutes. Is that correct?
yes,
Yes.
Yes. And you made the motion, Patty.
I did.
And I believe I seconded it.
Yes, I
Yes.
thought we voted on it, but I may have
And
been
we
having.
voted on it. No,
I thought we did.
Kevin says we didn't. So we
No,
will.
you did not.
Okay.
Thank you. Henry,
Yes.
yes. Joe,
Yes.
yes. Tim,
Yes.
I say yes.
Patty votes yes, and I vote yes. They are approved. Now, moving on to November, I don't remember the date.
7, I think. Hold on, let me just pull it out.
We couldn't have had three
November 2nd.
November 2nd meetings.
Yes, I make a motion to approve them.
Let somebody else second them.
I'll second it.
I second it.
Thank you, Tim.
Second.
All in favor, aye or hand up?
Aye.
Oh,
Aye.
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 and
Aye.
Joe, yes. And Henry?
Aye.
Okay. All right, we have now approved 3 months worth of minutes, folks. Congratulations.
Thank you.
What a load off.
Thanks, Pat.
So, this is Holly. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Holly.
Yes.
Okay, so, I think I'm pretty tech conscious, right? And I switched from Mac to PC recently and got new computers and monitors and everything. And I bought a really high resolution, nice monitor. Who knew these things don't come with cameras?
Hmm.
So I just discovered that at like 15 minutes before the meeting when I was trying to dial in. There is no camera on this new monitor, so I'm going to have to remedy that somehow. But that is why I could not be with you tonight.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm sure that, just an inexpensive Logitech or whatever will be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all use additional, even on the laptops with the cameras, we end up using supplemental cameras.
Oh,
anyway.
do you? So my old Mac had one and it worked quite well. So I didn't know that this is something you're supposed to take care of separately. So.
All right. See you next time.
Okay.
See you.
I think it must have been a very bad year or bad week or two for computers.
Mercury in retrograde.
Yes.
Okay.
Officially ended the meeting 3 minutes ago, Kevin.
Do we vote to adjourn?
We will, won't we? Someone make the motion.
I'll vote.
Motion to adjourn.
I second.
Okay, we have 2 motions and a second. Anyone opposed? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, now we can talk about computers.
Oh, sorry. I thought we were done.
Turn the recording off.
We were. It's okay, Holly. I understand.
So we're finished.